asked her if she would cook the dinner for our wedding.
It makes me think of our wedding menu. Everyone still talks about it.
When we were living in London,
Because I was just engaged at the time when I came trying to find you.
Some people move on from major life events. Others spend an entire cooking episode with a world-renowned chef making sure everyone remembers they once had a royal wedding. Episode 6 of With Love Meghan proved that when you're hosting 3 Michelin-starred chef Clare Smyth, the real main course isn't the halibut, it's wedding nostalgia served with a side of desperate relevance. Before Clare could even finish explaining her culinary philosophy, Meghan had already managed 3 separate wedding references. By the time they reached the fish market, viewers had been reminded more about royal catering choices than actual cooking techniques. The pattern was so obvious it became the episode's defining characteristic. This wasn't subtle reminiscing or natural conversation flow. This was strategic name-dropping disguised as cooking education, where every ingredient somehow connected back to wedding memories, and every technique required a royal callback for context. Clare Smyth didn't travel across an ocean to be a supporting character in someone else's wedding highlight reel, yet that's exactly what happened. One of the world's most accomplished chefs became a prop in an extended exercise of "remember when I was important." The desperation was palpable. The timing was awkward, the execution was cringeworthy, and by the end, what should have been an incredible learning opportunity had transformed into an uncomfortable reminder that some people just can't let go of their 15 minutes of royal fame. Get ready to witness how someone managed to turn a masterclass in fine dining into a wedding scrapbook come to life. The episode's opening moments revealed exactly what viewers were in for when Meghan couldn't make it through her introduction of Clare Smyth without immediately establishing the wedding connection. What followed was a strategic barrage of royal references, designed to remind everyone of her former status before any actual cooking education could begin. The wedding name-dropping started immediately, when she couldn't simply introduce Clare as an accomplished chef without first positioning her as the chef who cooked for our wedding. This wasn't casual conversation flow, but calculated positioning to establish royal relevance from the very first moments.
when I was living in London, I went and tried her food and I fell in love.
Notice how she structured that introduction. Clare's incredible professional achievements were mentioned first but immediately overshadowed by the wedding connection. The emphasis shifted from Clare's expertise to Meghan's royal event, setting the tone for what would become a recurring pattern throughout the episode. The desperation became obvious when she couldn't let the wedding reference stand alone but felt compelled to add context about their relationship, ensuring viewers understood this wasn't just any wedding but a royal celebration that required world-class catering.
Makes me think of our wedding menu. Remember we had the map where everything was sourced.
Her unprompted shift from discussing local fish to wedding menu memories revealed someone desperate to steer every conversation back to royal reminiscing. Clare was simply explaining how California fish differs from other regions, yet somehow this triggered elaborate wedding catering nostalgia. The barrage intensified when she realized Clare might share her own perspective on the wedding experience, prompting another wave of validation-seeking references to ensure her version of events remained the focus.
I still remember doing the your anniversary where we surprised you.
The excitement in her voice when Clare mentioned their anniversary dinner revealed someone thrilled to have another opportunity for royal event discussion. What should have been Clare's memory became another chance to reinforce the wedding connection and remind viewers of ongoing royal relationships. But the opening barrage reached peak awkwardness when she started describing specific wedding venue details, forcing Clare to navigate politely around what was clearly becoming an extended royal reminiscence session rather than cooking education.
It was so funny because of all the old buildings, and my team always laughing.
Clare's diplomatic response about the challenges of catering in historic venues showed professional grace, but the dynamic was clear. One person wanted to discuss cooking techniques, while the other wanted to relive wedding memories. The desperation to keep royal references flowing overshadowed any natural conversation development. What made this opening barrage particularly uncomfortable was how it established a pattern that would continue throughout the episode. Instead of allowing Clare's expertise to shine or focusing on learning opportunities, every segment would somehow circle back to wedding connections and royal nostalgia, transforming what should have been educational content into an extended exercise in relevance maintenance. The fish market visit should have been an educational experience about selecting quality seafood with a professional chef. Instead, it became another opportunity for Meghan to transform practical cooking education into royal wedding nostalgia, turning what could have been learning moments into awkward memory lane detours. The transformation began when Clare started explaining regional fish characteristics and cooking methods, providing genuine culinary education about how water temperature affects fish texture and flavor. Rather than absorbing this professional knowledge, Meghan immediately saw an opening for wedding reminiscence.
I really wanted people to appreciate where every ingredient was coming from.
Her interruption of Clare's professional explanation revealed someone more interested in wedding connections than culinary education. Clare was sharing sophisticated knowledge about how geographic factors influence cooking techniques, yet this somehow triggered elaborate catering memories instead of follow-up questions about the cooking insights being offered. The detour deepened when she couldn't let the wedding reference stand alone, but felt compelled to add validation about the meal quality, ensuring everyone understood this wasn't just any catered event, but a memorable royal celebration.
I mean, that was the most delicious meal. Everyone still talks about it.
The phrase "everyone still talks about it" revealed someone desperately seeking confirmation that her wedding remained a topic of ongoing conversation. This wasn't natural reminiscing, but strategic positioning to remind viewers that royal events create lasting impacts worth discussing years later. But the memory lane detour reached peak awkwardness when she started describing specific venue challenges that Clare's team had faced, forcing the professional chef to relive catering logistics instead of focusing on the educational seafood selection happening in front of them.
Because you're like going through like trying to like not like touch anything and like everything's shaky.
Clare's diplomatic response about navigating historic venue challenges showed professional grace, but the entire exchange highlighted how wedding nostalgia was overshadowing present learning opportunities. Instead of discussing fish selection criteria or seasonal availability, they were rehashing catering logistics from years ago. The detour became most uncomfortable when she seemed completely unaware that she was derailing educational content in favor of personal reminiscence, transforming Clare's expertise into supporting material for royal memory sharing, rather than allowing the professional knowledge to take center stage.
No, we've had such good meals. That's all because of the obsession with the bread.
Her attempt to connect potato chips to wedding bread obsessions revealed someone so focused on royal references that she was creating tenuous connections between completely unrelated topics. The fish market visit had somehow become a launching pad for discussing wedding menu highlights rather than learning about seafood selection. What made this fish market memory lane detour particularly frustrating was how it wasted genuine educational opportunities. Clare's knowledge about regional fish characteristics and cooking applications could have provided valuable learning for viewers, but instead became background noise to royal wedding reminiscence. The pattern was becoming clear: every professional insight or educational moment would be overshadowed by wedding connections, transforming what should have been cooking education into an extended exercise in royal relevance maintenance. The Parker House roll segment should have focused on learning traditional bread-making techniques from a master chef. Instead, it became another vehicle for wedding nostalgia when Meghan couldn't resist turning bread preparation into an extended callback to royal dining preferences and catering memories. The catastrophe began when Clare started explaining the complexity of her restaurant's signature bread, sharing professional insights about multiple starter types and flavored stocks. Rather than appreciating this glimpse into fine dining techniques, Meghan immediately seized the opportunity to remind everyone about her personal connection to this expertise.
When we were living in London,
We became obsessed with your bread.
Her interruption of Clare's technical explanation revealed someone more interested in establishing personal relationships with celebrity chefs than learning from their professional knowledge. The anecdote about special bread requests was clearly designed to show intimate access to fine dining establishments rather than demonstrating genuine interest in the craft. The callback intensified when she couldn't let the bread obsession story stand alone but felt compelled to add context about their London lifestyle, ensuring viewers understood this wasn't casual dining but regular royal residence dining experiences.
I thought, right, okay, I'll give you the recipe. And then I looked at it and I was thinking, this is going to be really tough.
Clare's response about the recipe complexity should have been a teaching moment about professional baking standards. Instead, it became validation for Meghan's claims about having special access to restaurant secrets, transforming educational content into social status confirmation. But the catastrophe reached peak awkwardness when she started making connections between current bread making and wedding menu decisions, forcing tenuous links between present learning and past royal catering choices.
Today we're doing not the bread that I'm used to, but another bread that you said is pretty...
Her emphasis on being used to Clare's complex restaurant bread revealed someone desperate to maintain the narrative that she had ongoing familiarity with fine dining standards rather than simply learning new techniques like any other cooking show participant. The wedding callback became most uncomfortable when she seemed completely unaware that her constant personal references were overshadowing Clare's generous sharing of professional knowledge and techniques that viewers could actually learn from.
They're really just a dinner roll, a classic dinner roll.
Yeah, we've got the flour.
Clare's patient explanation of basic bread components showed professional grace in maintaining educational focus despite the constant interruptions for personal reminiscence. The contrast between Clare's teaching approach and Meghan's need for royal connection validation was becoming increasingly obvious. What made this bread recipe wedding callback particularly frustrating was how it diminished Clare's generous sharing of professional expertise. Instead of focusing on technique, ingredient ratios, or the science behind bread making, viewers got extended narratives about royal bread preferences and special restaurant access. The pattern was unmistakable. Every professional insight would be interrupted by personal connections. Every educational moment would be overshadowed by royal references, transforming what should have been culinary learning into an extended exercise in status maintenance through celebrity chef relationships. The plating demonstration should have been a masterclass in fine dining presentation techniques from one of the world's most accomplished chefs. Instead, it became another opportunity for Meghan to force connections between professional culinary artistry and her wedding memories, transforming educational content into personal validation seeking. The overreach began when Clare started explaining the philosophy behind restaurant-level plating, sharing insights about natural presentation and purposeful garnish placement. Rather than absorbing these professional techniques, Meghan immediately began making connections to her own aesthetic preferences and wedding experiences.
Even if you can't do all of these layers, you can learn how to beautify your plating.
Her attempt to simplify Clare's sophisticated plating philosophy revealed someone who thought fine dining presentation was primarily about making food pretty, rather than understanding the technical skill and artistic vision behind professional plate composition. The reduction of master-level technique to basic beautification showed a fundamental misunderstanding of what they were witnessing. The connection became more forced when she started relating Clare's natural garnish philosophy to her own design sensibilities, as if wedding planning experience qualified her to understand professional culinary presentation standards.
You start with the base and then you accessorize.
Her fashion-based analogy for plating technique revealed someone trying to relate professional culinary artistry to familiar territory rather than appreciating the unique skills and knowledge required for restaurant-level presentation. The comparison diminished the complexity of what Clare was demonstrating, but the overreach reached peak awkwardness when she began making connections between the careful attention to detail in plating and similar precision in wedding planning, forcing parallels that highlighted her desperation to remain relevant to the conversation.
But no one thinks about the level of focus and love that goes into a dinner roll.
Her observation about restaurant attention to detail was clearly building toward another wedding connection, setting up comparisons between professional kitchen standards and the level of care that went into her royal catering. The pattern was becoming predictable and uncomfortable. The wedding connection became most transparent when she started discussing how understanding craftsmanship makes experiences more meaningful, obviously preparing to relate this back to her appreciation for Clare's wedding catering work.
You get so much more pleasure out of something when you understand how it's made, when you see all the beauty in it.
Clare's gracious response about appreciation through understanding showed professional wisdom, but the setup was obvious. This philosophical moment about craftsmanship appreciation was clearly designed to circle back to wedding memories and validate the special nature of her royal catering experience. What made this plating technique wedding connection particularly uncomfortable was how it transformed genuine education about professional culinary artistry into another vehicle for personal validation. Clare's generous sharing of master-level techniques became background material for establishing connections to royal event planning rather than opportunities for actual learning. The overreach revealed someone so focused on maintaining relevance that she couldn't simply appreciate professional expertise without connecting it to her own experiences, transforming what should have been humbling education into another exercise in royal reference maintenance. The discussion about fried chicken should have been a casual conversation about adapting recipes for special occasions. Instead, it became Meghan's most transparent victory lap yet, as she transformed Clare's professional flexibility into an extended celebration of how her wedding had permanently influenced a Michelin-starred restaurant's offerings. The victory lap began when Clare mentioned creating fried chicken specifically for their wedding reception, sharing how the request had pushed her outside her usual culinary comfort zone. Rather than appreciating this professional accommodation, Meghan immediately seized the opportunity to celebrate her lasting impact on fine dining.
You know what else was your fried chicken for the after party?
Clare's explanation of the creative challenge should have highlighted her professional adaptability and skill in developing new recipes. Instead, it became validation for Meghan's influence on restaurant operations, transforming a chef's professional story into evidence of royal event significance. The celebration intensified when she learned that this wedding-inspired dish had become a permanent menu addition, providing the ultimate validation that her event had created lasting change at a world-renowned establishment.
And you did.
And we did, and we kept it. We still do it.
Her excitement about the permanent menu inclusion was palpable, revealing someone thrilled to discover that her wedding had created enduring influence at a prestigious restaurant. The emphasis on off-menu status made it even more special, suggesting exclusive access to secret dishes inspired by royal events. But the victory lap reached peak celebration when she began claiming credit for culinary innovation at a Michelin-starred establishment, positioning herself as someone whose influence had expanded professional repertoires.
God,
gosh, I love that we have created
you've now,
something
like-
off menu.
Her use of "we" in creating menu items revealed someone who thought wedding planning constituted culinary collaboration rather than understanding that Claire's professional skill had solved the challenge. The possessive language suggested ownership of restaurant innovations rather than appreciation for chef expertise. The celebration became most uncomfortable when she started positioning this as her claim to fame, transforming a chef's professional accommodation into personal achievement worthy of lasting recognition.
You know, we're done. That's it.
Yeah.
If that's my claim to fame, I'm thrilled.
Her declaration about this being her claim to fame revealed the desperate need for lasting relevance at any level. The idea that influencing a single menu item at someone else's restaurant could constitute fame highlighted how thoroughly she was grasping for continued significance. What made this off-menu wedding victory lap particularly uncomfortable was how it diminished Claire's professional expertise and creative problem-solving. Instead of celebrating a chef's ability to innovate under pressure, it became about Meghan's lasting influence on fine dining establishments. The pattern had reached its logical conclusion. Every professional story would be transformed into evidence of royal impact, every chef's skill would become validation of wedding significance, and every accommodation would be reframed as lasting achievement rather than professional courtesy. The episode's conclusion should have been a gracious farewell between friends celebrating a successful cooking collaboration. Instead, it became Meghan's final opportunity to reinforce wedding connections through elaborate gift-giving that served more as reminders of royal relationships than genuine tokens of appreciation. The reminder finale began when she couldn't simply thank Clare for the cooking lesson without creating an elaborate presentation around gifts that would ensure the wedding connection followed Clare home to London.
I have a couple gifts for you before you travel back.
Her emphasis on the handwritten travel kit revealed someone who thought personal touches would create lasting reminders of their special relationship, rather than understanding that the cooking experience itself should have been the memorable takeaway. The gifts became vehicles for maintaining connection rather than expressions of genuine gratitude. The wedding reminder became explicit when Clare's response immediately referenced how these personal touches connected to their wedding experience, providing exactly the validation Meghan had been seeking throughout the episode.
I just love all this stuff that you do. You just make everything so beautiful.
Clare's gracious acknowledgement of the wedding menu design provided the perfect setup for Meghan to bask in validation about her role in creating memorable royal event details, transforming gift-giving into another opportunity for wedding reminiscence. But the finale reached peak awkwardness when she started explaining how the gifts connected to shared values about nature and sustainability, creating philosophical connections that seemed designed to deepen their relationship beyond simple cooking collaboration.
And then this is just a card and a book of just, I know how much you love nature as well.
Her assumption about Clare's interests and the attempt to share her sweet community revealed someone trying to create ongoing connection through gift-giving rather than simply appreciating the professional education she had received during their time together. The wedding reminder finale became most transparent when she started reflecting on everything she had learned, but framed it through the lens of their ongoing relationship and shared experiences rather than Clare's professional generosity.
I just learned so much from you today. You start at the fish market and you see how committed they are.
Her summary of the day's learning was structured to emphasize their collaborative journey rather than Clare's role as teacher, maintaining the fiction that this had been an equal partnership rather than a professional sharing knowledge with an amateur. What made this gift-giving wedding reminder finale particularly uncomfortable was how it transformed what should have been humble gratitude for professional education into another exercise in relationship maintenance and royal connection reinforcement. The elaborate gifts served as physical reminders that would travel back to London, ensuring that the wedding connection would persist beyond the episode itself, creating ongoing touchstones for royal relationship validation. What should have been a natural conclusion celebrating a successful cooking lesson instead became Meghan's final marathon of wedding reflections, as she transformed Clare's professional accomplishments and their shared meal into yet another opportunity to relive royal event memories and validate ongoing relationships. The reflection marathon began when she couldn't simply acknowledge Clare's professional growth without immediately connecting it back to their wedding timeline and her role as witness to that success journey.
How many years ago did we meet?
Like 6, almost 7. Right?
6, almost 7.
Her emphasis on the engagement timeline revealed someone who needed to establish the chronology of their relationship around royal milestones, rather than simply appreciating Clare's professional achievements. The reference to trying to find you suggested this was a special quest rather than normal wedding planning. The marathon intensified when she started cataloging Clare's subsequent professional accomplishments as if she had been personally invested in this success story from the beginning, positioning herself as a long-term supporter rather than a brief client.
Life has changed, the world has changed. You've opened so many more restaurants, gotten more stars.
Her expression of pride revealed someone who thought brief professional interaction had created ongoing investment in Clare's career, rather than understanding that wedding catering was simply professional service, not the beginning of a mentorship relationship. But the reflection marathon reached peak self-indulgence when she started connecting their current meal quality back to the wedding experience, ensuring that even their present moment together would be filtered through royal event memories.
I think we have loved this meal with all of our hearts.
Her philosophical conclusion about food's purpose seemed designed to create meaningful connection while simultaneously validating that their wedding meal had achieved this same level of significance, bringing the conversation full circle back to royal catering validation. The marathon became most uncomfortable when she seemed completely unaware that her constant wedding references had overshadowed what should have been celebration of Clare's generous teaching and professional expertise shared during their cooking session.
Just the amount of love and labor in the process is what's made it so delicious.
Clare's gracious response about understanding craftsmanship and quality showed professional wisdom, but the entire exchange had been framed through wedding memories rather than present learning experiences, diminishing the educational value of their time together. What made this closing wedding reflection marathon particularly frustrating was how it transformed what should have been humble gratitude for professional education into another extended exercise in royal relationship validation and wedding memory celebration. The pattern had completed its cycle. Every professional interaction had been filtered through wedding connections. Every educational moment had been overshadowed by royal references, and every conclusion had circled back to validating the significance of past royal events rather than appreciating present opportunities for growth and learning. Her philosophical conclusion about food's purpose seemed designed to create meaningful connection while simultaneously validating that their wedding meal had achieved this same level of significance, bringing the conversation full circle back to royal catering validation. The marathon became most uncomfortable when she seemed completely unaware that her constant wedding references had overshadowed what should have been celebration of Clare's generous teaching and professional expertise shared during their cooking session. Clare's gracious response about understanding craftsmanship and quality showed professional wisdom, but the entire exchange had been framed through wedding memories rather than present learning experiences, diminishing the educational value of their time together. What made this closing wedding reflection marathon particularly frustrating was how it transformed what should have been humble gratitude for professional education into another extended exercise in royal relationship validation and wedding memory celebration. The pattern had completed its cycle. Every professional interaction had been filtered through wedding connections, every educational moment had been overshadowed by royal references, and every conclusion had circled back to validating the significance of past royal events rather than appreciating present opportunities for growth and learning. Episode 6 of With Love Meghan proved that some people can turn any situation into an opportunity to relive their greatest hits. What should have been an incredible learning experience with one of the world's most accomplished chefs became an hour-long reminder that Meghan once had a royal wedding, complete with forced connections and awkward callbacks that overshadowed genuine educational content. From the opening moments to the closing reflections, every segment somehow circled back to wedding memories, royal catering stories, and validation-seeking references that transformed Clare's generous expertise into supporting material for personal reminiscence. The pattern was so obvious it became the episode's defining characteristic. Clare Smyth's professional grace throughout these constant interruptions only highlighted how desperate the wedding references felt. Here was someone sharing master-level culinary knowledge while being repeatedly redirected into nostalgic territory about events from years ago. The tragedy isn't that she had fond memories of her wedding or appreciation for Clare's work. The problem was the inability to exist in the present moment and appreciate current opportunities without constantly referencing past royal glory. Every technique demonstration became a memory trigger. Every professional insight became a callback opportunity. By episode's end, viewers had learned more about wedding catering logistics than actual cooking techniques, more about royal event planning than fine dining principles. What could have been educational content about professional culinary standards became an extended exercise in relevance maintenance through celebrity-chef relationships. The desperation was transparent, the timing was awkward, and the execution was cringeworthy. Watching someone transform a masterclass in fine dining into a wedding scrapbook come to life was uncomfortable viewing that highlighted exactly why moving forward matters more than living in past achievements. So which wedding reference made you cringe the hardest? Was it the opening barrage that immediately established royal connections, the bread obsession stories, or maybe the victory lap about influencing restaurant menus? Drop your thoughts below because honestly, watching someone turn every cooking moment into wedding nostalgia was a masterclass in missing the point. Smash that like button if this breakdown helped explain why the episode felt more like a wedding highlight reel than cooking education. Subscribe because we've got 2 more episodes of reality checking to analyze, and hit that notification bell because the content ahead somehow makes this royal reminiscence look subtle by comparison. The wedding references we witnessed today were just the beginning, people.